Let's now bring in CTV News Royal commentator Richard Berthelsen. Richard, good afternoon and thanks for your time. Let me start with what's happening in the UK. What is the historical significance of this visit to Canada House of both the King and the Queen?
Well, Canada House is our outpost in London, in central London, as you know. You could not be much more central than Canada House, and it's a very prominent place. And it's marking 100 years of being the official center of Canadian diplomatic and other activity in the United Kingdom. So the King has been there today to mark that anniversary. I mean, really, he's setting foot on Canadian soil. So it's actually the first time the King has really set foot on Canadian soil since becoming king. And he also took the opportunity to see a very, very large map that was put on the floor by the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, which is a huge, huge map showing the geography of Canada. I'm sure the King looked at the many different places that he's been in every province and territory over his last 55 years of traveling here. And he accepted the official key to the building, marking the 100th anniversary. So it's a significant event. And of course, any opportunity, I think right now the government of Canada is getting to emphasize the King's role in Canada is important. And it's important in the UK as well, because we know the UK Prime Minister is not always been singing from the same songbook on Canada with respect to tariffs.
Yeah, let's talk about a little more in terms of significant events, Richard. We know that in less than a week, the King and the Queen arrive in Ottawa for the speech from the throne. Walk us through the significance of this very historic moment in these tumultuous times with our neighbor.
Well, the King would have undertaken some ceremonial activities on his first visit to Canada after becoming king. And so this kind of is in that genre. But there's no question that this has been shoehorned into his very busy schedule to be at the opening of this parliament at this time because of the continued remarks that are being made by the President of the United States about Canadian sovereignty, about our independence as a country. And we know, and everybody knows, that Donald Trump is exceptionally drawn to the monarchy, to the King. He has an excellent relationship with the King. So I think this is an important attempt by the Canadian government to speak to the White House and remind the King that when he is speaking of Canada, he is speaking of a country that Charles is also king of. And it really is an attempt to emphasize our sovereignty and our distinctiveness from the United States. Let's also remember, many Canadians have been asking for the King to make a comment about the situation. Well, what better forum for him to do so than in a speech from the throne, which is official government policy. It will be written by the government of Canada, and I'm sure it will be a clear statement about Canadian sovereignty and the fact that Canada is not for sale.
Yeah, speech from throne, of course, is the big event. But what will those 2 days of pomp and show really look like in Ottawa?
Well, I think the focal point, as you say, is the speech from the throne. We'll also see the King paying respects at the National War Memorial to the more than 110,000 Canadian war dead over the past 100 years or so. Bearing in mind also Canada has made significant contributions to world wars and at the side of the Americans and the rest of the Commonwealth. So again, there's a point being made there. You're going to see the RCMP in full regalia. You're going to see the King interacting with people in a more informal opportunity when he lands at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, and there will be some official aspects at Rideau Hall, such as a tree planting, such as the Queen being made a Canadian Privy Councillor. So all of these things are things we might have expected to see on a first visit. The fact they're taking place at this time on such a quickly organized trip, I think is very significant, and it relates to the moment that we are going through.
All right. CTV News Royal commentator Richard Berthelsen. Richard, thank you for all this.
Thank you, Akshay.